Fellas, UFC 292 is this weekend, and it is a somewhat okay card. It was originally a lot better. We had Henry Cejudo on the card. We had Cody Garbrandt on the card. Originally, the card was much better, but we'll settle for this. We will settle for this. It's not as good as it once was, but it's an alright pay-per-view, I'd say. It's not as bad as UFC 293, but it's not great. But we're going to be going over the card today, making our predictions for every fight on the main card. Starting off, well, I'm not going to be including the Cody Garbrandt fight because it's now been cancelled. So I'm just going to go all the way down to Chris Weidman versus Brad Tavares. And I've got Brad Tavares by unanimous decision. I just don't see Chris Weidman winning this fight. It's a striker versus wrestler. I'm going to be honest, I don't see Chris Weidman winning this fight at all. I don't see it happening. Obviously, the infamous leg break in 2021 has mean he's been very inactive. Listen, he's been inactive since April of 2021. It's now August 2023. He's been out for over 2 years. He's been out for an incredibly long time. On top of that, he's like 38, 39 years old. He's really old. He was on a winning streak, I think, before the Uriah Hall fight. But I just don't see him beating Brad Tavares. I think Brad Tavares has been more active. I think stylistically he's a pretty tough matchup for Chris Weidman. You know, Brad Tavares is coming. He is coming off a loss though. He got KO'd by Bruno Silva, who's also a very, very impressive striker, and Dricus du Plessis as well. But before that, he was picking up a couple wins. I think it'll be a decision. I don't see either finishing each other, but I do have Brad Tavares winning this fight by decision. Chris Weidman, maybe he'll come back with something, but I don't think over a 2-year layoff, which is an insanely long layoff, and to say that for those 2 years he's not been training either, at least not for one of them. I don't know, man. I just don't see Chris Weidman winning. I think he should have retired when he had the opportunity, but maybe he'll come back with a win. I just don't see it happening. I'm going Brad Tavares by decision win. Next up, we have Pedro Munoz versus Maul Vera. I'm going to go with Maul Vera by decision as well. Although, am I the only one who thought that Pedro Munoz, like, you look at his record and it's really not as impressive as I thought it was. Like, for some reason, I thought Pedro Munoz was like this dark horse at a bantamweight, and then I looked at his record and it's really not. He is coming off a win over Chris Gutierrez. I was so confident someone was going to get a knockout in that fight, but he's coming off a win over Chris Gutierrez. He fought Sean O'Malley, and he actually looked alright in that first round against O'Malley. He didn't look terrible. It was kind of just whatever. There was not really a winner, and then obviously it got ended due to a no contest. He lost to Jose Aldo. He beat Jimmy Rivera. Lost to Dominic Cruz. I think there's too many losses against these opponents, and I think Marlon Vera, being the guy he is, he's only lost to Sandhagen recently. He got a knockout win over Frankie Edgar, just like He got a knockout win over Frankie Edgar. Got a knockout win over Dominic Cruz, who also beat Pedro Munoz. So I'm going to go Marlon Vera to win this fight. I don't think Pedro Munoz is going to bring a wrestling threat like Sandhagen did. I think it's going to be it's quite an easy match. I don't want to say easy, but it's quite a favourable matchup for Marlon Vera, a kind of a short striker, kind of like Dominic Cruz. So if Marlon Vera can keep it on the feet, which I think is going to happen anyway, they're both strikers, then I think he'll be able to. I don't think he'll find the knockout. I think Pedro Munoz is an underrated striker. I don't think he'll get KO'd, but I do think he'll win by decision on the feet. And I'm going to go with Marlon Vera. Yeah, Marlon Vera by decision. And I'm kind of glad that Marlon Vera is fighting Pedro Munoz. I'm glad that he's not fighting Henry Cejudo, because I don't understand how Marlon Vera fights Sandhagen, loses, and then gets matched up against a guy who's just fought for a belt. It doesn't make sense. So stylistically, I'm very impressed with the matchmaking here. But yeah, it would have been good to have Henry Cejudo on the card as well. Yeah, I just don't see a threat for Pedro Munoz. When I look at his record, I don't see a threat. I mean, he's coming off a win over Chris Gutierrez, which is somewhat impressive, but then you've got Marlon Vera, who is stylistically very, very hard for Pedro Munoz. So I'm going to go with the logic, and I'm going to say Pedro Munoz wins by decision. The Cody Garbrandt fight is now off, so I'm going to ignore this fight. Neil Magny versus Ian Garry. I'm going to go Ian Garry by a third round finish. I think he's going to get him in the first round. Ian Garry's had a very impressive UFC run so far. Obviously, his last win over, Daniel Rodriguez. I don't think this is he was supposed to fight Jeff Neal, and I think we would have loved to see that fight. That would have been amazing, Jeff Neal versus Ian Garry, because that was kind of like the ticket to fighting these higher ranked welterweights. But I just don't think Neil Magny is the guy to get you that ticket to fight higher ranked welterweights, in my opinion. he's not the funnest fighter to watch, is Neil Magny. I mean, I'm respecting him for being active, because didn't he just fight at UFC 290? So I respect him for being active, but yeah, I'm not. No, I think he was the Emmett Topuria card that he fought on, actually. But anyway, yeah, I don't see Neil Magny winning this fight. He had a very, very boring fight against Philip Raw. Before that, he lost to Gilbert Burns in the first round. I don't see him winning at all. And like I said, I think if he beats Neil Magny, he's not really proved anything. Like, beating Daniel Rodriguez proved that he should have fought a higher ranked welterweight. Beating Neil Magny doesn't really, like, if this would have been Jeff Neal, right, and Ian Gary goes out there and beats Jeff Neal, he'd have been fighting someone around the top 5. But if he beats Neil Magny, he's not. That's my point. Maybe a Gilbert Burns fight or something, but I don't even think a Gilbert Burns fight. I don't know, but if Ian Gary fights Neil Magny, I think I think he's going to get a knockout in the. I'm going to go 3rd round. Yeah, I think Neil Magny's too slow. Yeah, I don't see a way for Neil Magny winning this. I think he's going to make it quite boring in the first couple of rounds, and I don't think he'll get finished quickly. But I do see Ian Gary finishing him in the late rounds, because Ian Gary is a very good striker, undefeated. I think this is going to be a favourable matchup for him. A lot easier than the Jeff Neal fight, especially since the fact that it's on short notice for Neil Magny. So I'm going to go Ian Gary by knockout in the 3rd round. Next up, we've got a women's fight. Zhang Weili versus Amanda Lemos. I'm going to go Zhang Weili. I'm going to go by it's a 5-round fight. I'm going to go a 3rd round finish. I think she's going to finish her in the 4th round due to strikes. I think Zhang Weili is just a very, very solid women's striker, to be honest. She's impressed me in her last couple of fights. Obviously, she absolutely battered, what's her name, Carla Esparza. Before that, she lost to Rosna. Well, that wasn't. She also beat Joanna as well in very dominant fashion. Before that, she did lose to Rose Namajunas, but that was a very questionable decision. Zhang Weili's great. She's got great wrestling, great stand-up. I just don't see a real threat to Amanda Lemos. She is coming off a knockout win over what's her name, Marina Rodriguez. She's coming off a win. She's put up a little bit of a winning streak, so maybe that's going to favour in this matchup. But I feel like Zhang Weili's got this. I'm sensing a late finish after the 3rd round. Amanda Lemos, like I said, I think she's a little bit underrated coming into this fight. You know, she can do what she can on the feet. She's an alright striker. She can finish the fight. She's quite dangerous for a woman, but yeah, I just don't see her finishing Zhang Weili. I think Zhang Weili's got the experience against more top level opponents, and I'm gonna go by knockout in the 4th round. In the 40 yard, I just don't see a way for Amanda Lemos to win unless she catches Zhang Weili, which I don't think is going to happen. I mean, I know she got caught by Rose Namajunas' head kick, but I don't see Amanda Lemos getting any head kicks on Zhang Weili. So I'm gonna go Zhang Weili knockout in the 4th round. And then the main event, Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley. I'm gonna go Aljamain Sterling by 2nd round ground and pound beating. I think he's gonna go similar to the TJ Dillashaw fight. I think Sean O'Malley stylistically is easy for Aljamain Sterling. First of all, he's just wrestled with Henry Cejudo, who's one of the best wrestlers in the UFC, at least in the bantamweight division. And he did that with, I'm not going to say with ease, but he did it comfortably. He's going to destroy Sean O'Malley when it comes to grappling. Sean O'Malley got out-wrestled by Peter Yan, the same guy who got out-wrestled by Aljamain Sterling. I think grappling-wise it's easy. As well as that, Sean O'Malley's kind of like that tall, lanky opponent. And for Aljamain Sterling, the tall, lanky opponents are favourable for him because, more volume to grab. He did it to Sandhagen as well, submitted Sandhagen pretty easily. I think he's gonna destroy Sean O'Malley when it comes to wrestling. I think the first couple of rounds are gonna be quite boring. It's just gonna be Aljamain Sterling laying on O'Malley, and then he's just gonna start beating him on the floor. Second round, same thing, takes him down, starts beating him on the floor, and then eventually the ref stops it. The only way I can see O'Malley winning this fight is if he was to catch Aljamain Sterling on the feet, because obviously on the feet they're levels above, but I don't think Sean O'Malley is going to be able to defend Sterling in the grappling side of things. I think Sterling's a very, very good grappler, human backpack. I'm going to say finishes him. I'm going to go 2nd round ground and pound finish. Unless Sean O'Malley was to catch him on the feet, which he could do, but I think there's a higher chance of Sterling wrestling O'Malley than O'Malley catching him. So I'm going to go Sterling by. And you look at the people who Sean O'Malley has fought as well. He got a questionable win over Peter Yan. Before that, he didn't even beat Pedro Munoz. Before that, he was just fighting all these unranked guys. So I think he's kind of had a fairly easy ticket to the bantamweight title shot. I mean, of course, if you beat Peter Yan, you get a title shot. But that was when Peter Yan, that was a very questionable decision. But yeah, I'm going to go Sterling within 2. Please let me know your predictions, if I'm right or wrong. And yeah, let me know what you think.